wonderful to see my brother here today as the accomplished married man that he is. As from the age of 5, he was threatened to be forever dogged by a phrase used in his Year 1 primary school report. As our family eagerly look forward to the first independent opinion and progress of who we come to know as the chubby little baby of the family, we were shocked that in a dry, generally unimaginative assessment of Jonnie, the only comment offered of any substance by his first teacher, Mrs. Paynton, in the aforementioned first report was, and I quote, "Jonnie can be silly in PE." Direct, potentially accurate, memorable, but unsatisfactory. Thankfully, after said report was perused by my mother, I think it is fair to say that she was not happy with the charge against her second-born, and that morning went in to see Mrs. Paynton to lay down what can only be described as home truths. In a frank, honest, one-way, 15-minute conversation. My mother's so determined that the man we see before us would not be defined by the phrase "Jonnie can be silly" in PE, that to this day a whole generation of teachers will refuse to say a bad word against Michael Gove's seemingly heavy-handed, authoritarian recent management of the education system, because they can still remember the day Elaine Mitchell took charge of primary education in the county of Berkshire for a full 15 unabridged minutes. As a result of this intervention, Jonnie was able to thrive, to conquer all fields before him, in fields so diverse as sport, fashion and the arts, playing diverse roles such as an ugly sister, a head innkeeper, goalkeeper and John Bon Jovi lookalike. While Mrs. Paynton was left to question her judgment and retell the story of that morning, mainly to her £65 an hour therapist. Ironically, the only unanswered question drawn below the line of this event was whether Jonnie did or did not have a tendency to be silly in or otherwise. As I say, it's amazing to see my little brother like this, as I can remember the day he was born. I've seen him grow up. I remember his first day at school. Naomi, we are so blessed to have you into our family, especially as we knew, with Jonnie choosing, we were fully aware that we could have ended up with literally anything. I've often noticed that our family can be split into two broad categories: accountants and mavericks. The accountants consist of myself and now Naomi, who are very easily categorised because we are actually accountants. But also my mum and my dad and Sue have many of the skills needed to be an accountant. Conformity, predictability, not being a hairdresser, the wearing of conventional clothing. Which leaves us with the second group, the mavericks, consisting of Jonnie, consisting of Jonnie. Jonnie has always chosen to be the weird one, the drummer, the hairdresser, the girls aloud fan, the goalkeeper. And it is goalkeeping, and in particular goalkeeping gloves, that have played a huge part in his life. His first brush with death came in a five-a-side football match while playing in goal. On a warm summer's afternoon, an opposition striker broke free, and keeper Jonnie was the last line of defence. Instinctively, he ran off his line quicker than an economic downturn under a Green Party manifesto and dived at the attacker's feet. but unfortunately was kicked in the face, causing his face to instantly swell to approximately the size of Shinfield. Upon returning to the house, we had to remove all the mirrors, so Jonnie would not be able to view his new Elephant Man-esque. Fortunately, his face has recovered, as we can see today, to some modicum. Jonnie's second memorable goalkeeping glove experience came at a holiday Bible club in Wokingham. Talked into going by our mum after being given the promise that he would be able to play football when he arrived, Jonnie arrived in full kit and goalkeeping gloves. Only to hear the immortal words, "Today, we're going to be making bum bags." The bum bags being proposed were made of 1 times Asda plastic bag, 1 times piece of string, and 1 times pencil to conceal within said bum bag. Therefore, they looked about as convincing as a Gary Barlow tax return. The construction of said bespoke bum bag was somewhat hampered by Grumpy Jonnie's refusal to take off aforementioned goalkeeping gloves in case the proposed kickabout did in fact materialise. Thirdly and finally, and perhaps the most dramatic goalkeeping glove related incident took place following another brush with death. Approximately 10:05 on April 2003, in a kitchen in Early, the body of Jonnie's first gerbil, Jerry, was discovered. The police did not treat this discovery as suspicious and were not looking for any additional witnesses. That day, following a brief post-mortem and toxicology test, a swift burial was arranged. The burial consisted of Jonnie parading around the garden, clutching a deceased gerbil deep in the throes of rigor mortis, while wearing, yes, you've guessed it, goalkeeping gloves. Ironically, this was the first time Jonnie had been able to handle said gerbil due to his inability to tame Jerry. Therefore, Jonnie seemed to revel and almost prefer Jerry in this The funeral that he planned and financed himself climaxed with a rendition of Candle in the Wind. Of Candle in the Wind, performed by Jonnie with modified lyrics. Which read, "And it seemed to me you lived your life like a gerbil in a cage." Perhaps not as poetic as the Elton John version, nobody could question it for accuracy. Following the rendition, the decomposing rodent was placed in a specially commissioned paper coffin that Jonnie had prepared, ready to be placed in a freshly dug hole. The receptacle was then handed to my dad to complete the burial. But my dad, having heard scare stories about people digging up dead pets on a Channel 5 documentary that he had, and possibly to quash any Michael Jackson-esque conspiracy theories that would later promote the idea of Jerry the Gerbil still being alive, was not taking any chances. As I vividly then remember Dad firmly wedging the carefully constructed bespoke coffin between 2 very weighty house bricks. That was the last confirmed sighting of Jerry the Gerbil. I have many other great memories of growing up with Jonnie, and I hope that I was a nice big brother. But I can remember evenings spent boxing with Jonnie. The issue was that we only had 1 pair of boxing gloves. So Jonnie was forced to wear those, forcing me to box bare knuckle, and also flaunt various other of the Queensberry rules. I remember playing cricket with Jonnie, who was fully padded up in the back garden, with me bowling a proper cricket ball at him from way under the sanctioned 22 yards, employing a fast medium bowling action that has been under investigation by the International Cricket Council ever since. I have many happy memories of watching WWF wrestling with Jonnie, although that too had its low points, particularly the day his favourite wrestler, Owen Hart, sadly died on an event that we stayed up to watch. Moving Jonnie to the following day to construct what can only be described as a rudimentary altar on his windowsill that consisted of a candle and Owen Hart in pog form. We've talked already about some of Jonnie's successes on stage. However, the role he plays in the most accomplished manner is the king of austerity. It was 2011, at the age of 24, before he paid for anything. Jonnie has been lauded by George Osborne as a model of tight fiscal policy, with the motto of, if they have a pulse, they pay first. This has enabled him to have never bought a drink in his life, although he did buy a round of sambucas on his stag do, but then spoiled it by putting a cockle in it. He only puts the heating on in his house once a polar vortex has been officially declared by the Met Office. And if Naomi and I hadn't have intervened today, we'd have been surviving on tap water and complimentary hotel mints. In summary, yes, my brother is about as generous as a foie gras starter portion at a Michelin star restaurant. Okay, last page. His final claim to fame was at a primary school badminton doubles tournament. After a day spent by Jonnie and his teammate, Pete Wagner. Where are you, Pete? After a day spent going through an entire badminton tournament and eventually winning the final, they were presented for their efforts with 1x fun-sized Mars bar. Not satisfied by this, our mum was forced to go out and buy Jonnie a trophy. Coincidentally, Pete's mum also bought them a trophy, equaling 2 trophies, 1 fun-sized Mars bar, and therefore making them the most decorated British badminton players in shuttlecock history. To finish, as mentioned earlier, the day we discovered we were going to have a male hairdresser in our family came as a huge shock to us all. Nothing like that has ever happened in our conservative family history. The only thing that came close to the shock and fear and worldliness of Jonnie's announcement was the day that we found out that a James Last compilation cassette we owned contained Wake Me Up Before You Go Go by Wham on side 2. But one thing that cannot be doubted, Jonnie, as a hairdresser, you are a pioneer. You stand alone in our family. And yes, Poultons, I included you in this too. In a family full of financial analysts, salesmen, pensions advisors, charity workers, chemists, managing directors, you, Jonnie, are the first person that I have observed in our family history to possess a skill or talent that is of any practical use on a day-to-day basis in the real world. For that reason, we are proud of what you have achieved. Finally, the main thing, and as Jonnie demonstrated, about making wedding speeches, for some reason it's easier to say your true feelings about people in front of 100 people than it is just to say it face to face between the two of you. Jonnie, I am so proud to have you as a brother, and we all love you and the person that you have become. You have been responsible for so much joy and pride in our lives. Your Christian faith is an inspiration to me, and your passion for evangelism really does put me to shame. Naomi, I think you're the perfect match for Jonnie, and so happy that you are now in our family. You have a great foundation to build a marriage upon. Your personalities, your shared interests, your work ethic, Naomi's, not Jonnie's, and most importantly, your shared faith in God and your service to Him. If you need anything else, do let us know. Congratulations and love. Enjoy the rest of your day. And now can please everybody stand to propose the toast to the bride and groom. To the bride and groom.